The possibility of what can be done is involved in worldview healing. If someone is of the attitude that it's impossible, okay, you can never create change. It isn't even possible. That capability doesn't exist. Things are the way they are, have always been, are now, and always will be just as they are. You hear this from so many people who you try to explain about what's going on. And even if they admit to some of the negative, they're like, well, it's just always been like that, and you're not going to change it, and neither am I. This is part of the argument that I hear for people saying, why do you even bother to do what you're doing? Why do you even take up 1 millisecond of your day attempting to explain anything to anybody? Because it's never going to change anything. They believe it cannot be changed. See, now this is real negative thinking. To actually have gone so far into a dark worldview that your entire mental attitude is that change is completely impossible. It is not even possible to change anything. In that aspect, people who have accepted that dark and poisonous worldview, I say to them, well, what you've just basically accepted is that you're in hell and you deserve to be there, and there's no possibility for you to ever get out of that torture. And they're okay with that usually. They usually don't even offer an argument to that, because ultimately the same kind of person who is in this negative, poisoned worldview that believes that change is impossible is the same kind of person who ultimately hates themselves and is in a state of extreme self-loathing, and somewhere in their subconscious mind they feel they deserve what they have. They feel they deserve the enslavement that they have and should continue to experience it. And an even darker part of their worldview is they actually believe and have accepted deep in their subconscious is that so should everybody else continue to experience this suffering. Just because they are in a self-loathing worldview, they not only hate themselves, they ultimately deep down inside have no love for anyone. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't display love for anyone else. So this extreme negative thinking about change being impossible is what I'm talking about overcoming. It isn't to say that change won't be extremely difficult to achieve. If I said that, I wouldn't be a realist. Okay, from where we're at, it's a long shot, folks. From where we're at in the practically 100% total attachment to illusions and deception and lies, which people have wholeheartedly accepted as reality, as their reality, and believe that that is how it must be. Don't think that this is going to be an easy ride to create real change, because it's not. It's going to be a war, and nothing short of warfare in the spiritual and mental domains, and possibly the physical domain. Very possibly. So I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Please do not confuse anything I'm saying with that either, okay? What I'm saying is, if you start from the poisoned worldview that change is impossible, you might as well just sit back and do nothing. Because if that's what you believe, why would you bother to say a thing? Why would you bother to try to change anything? And, this goes for people that believe that it's impossible for individuals to change too, not just as a society. But a lot of people think, a lot of people would look at my background from the Church of Satan and say, well, this guy is a disinfo agent. He can't possibly be saying anything that's true or real, because look at where he came from. And this is a deeper part of the poisoned worldview aspect, that everything is eternally the way that it is and cannot change. We talked about the concept of the we are worldview. Humanity is this, and that's eternal. It's always been like that, is this way now, and always will be that way. People have to understand, as long as that's your mental attitude, you're done. You're enslaved. You are owned wholesale. In 100% totality, you are owned, if that's your mental position. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about developing true positive thinking. Everyone is not an agent. People who came even from an institution that is working toward the goal of evil have a potential in their mind, in their heart, in their soul to change themselves. Just because someone was once affiliated with someone who's working toward the dark doesn't mean that they could not have turned their life around and worked toward the light. And you get so much of this in the, quote unquote freedom movement, the my freedom movement that wants to talk about everybody being an agent. So many people, are of this completely poisoned worldview, mind controlled state of mind, and don't understand individuals can change. They can change. And if you really pay attention to what people are saying, that's what you need to do instead of just looking at a particular background or an affiliation. You need to pay attention to what the person is really saying, and that's how you're going to gain a holistically intelligent view of what the person is really about. Because you're going to hear it, and look and filter it through the mental process, but in following their work for a long period of time, you're also going to get a feel for their heart from an intuitive aspect. And that's what real intelligence is. It is not just left brain filtration. It is not just logical deductions. It is also about intuitive processes and feeling the heart of another being. And this is what many people still lack the understanding of. So, in the sense, the true positive thinking that I'm talking about here is, one, maintaining first and foremost faith. I'll use the word faith, okay? But really what it is deep introspective knowing of what your own capabilities are and being honest with yourself, an honest self-assessment, let's call it that, with your capabilities, resources, knowledge, etc. And continuously maintaining an attitude of, I can do this work. I can go out there and help to affect change in others. I believe that is possible. That's what we're talking about when I'm using faith in this connotation. If I didn't believe that was possible, that's a positive belief. That's a true belief. It isn't believing in something you can't prove. I can prove I have the will to go on and forge forward, regardless of what, the current situation may look like. That's self-belief in oneself. And that's what I'm talking about here as part of true positive thinking. That's that glass being half full aspect. Well, okay, most of the world is in darkness, but I'm not in darkness. That's where you're looking at the glass being half full, that perspective. And I am capable of helping to affect change in others with the power of my voice and putting forward my knowledge and understanding out there freely for other people. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about true positive thinking. It's faith in oneself, an honest self-assessment of one's capabilities, and then it's willpower and courage to go out and put that out into the world. It's believing that change is possible for other people in addition to yourself. You have to know that change is possible. Then you have to embody that change. Then you have to go out with the attitude, I also believe others can make this change. It is possible for them because it was possible for me. Nothing is eternal. There is no such thing as eternal programming, that it has to be that way. Whenever I hear, well, it's always been that way and it has to be that way. Why? Why would anything have to be an eternal way except natural law? Natural law has nothing to do with man's choices. Okay? Man has free will to choose how he will be, as long as he's not violating natural law. So you have free will to choose how you will be, but not without consequence. This is part of what understanding natural law comes down to. You have to understand you can change yourself. What you can't choose through your free will is to attempt to break natural law without consequence. There's going to be consequences if that's what you want to turn your free will toward doing. Oh, sure, you can go and do it, but again, not without consequence. Okay? There's always going to be repercussions for breaking natural law. When I'm talking about creating positive change, You have to know that it is possible to do, that nothing is eternally a certain way, that it happens to only be the current condition. See, this is where the other aspect of worldview poisoning comes into this. You could say this is part of worldview healing. It's part of the process of worldview healing. It's what you're going to use once you have begun to heal the worldview. You're going to use this solution of maintaining this positive mental attitude to continue the work that you're doing. If I didn't have any part of this, if I didn't know any part of it, I say I need improvement in this regard. But at the same time, if I didn't have any part of this working for myself, I probably would have given up with encountering all the problems over the last couple of weeks that I've had, because it's been rough. Okay? And I'm tired. Okay? And it takes effort and willpower to keep wanting to go on. The energy level that I'm at working with right now is definitely at a low. But that doesn't mean I'm going to just say, oh, screw it, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to continue to use whatever's there as long as I'm drawing breath. And again, that's what will is all about. That's what care is all about. So what I'm saying here as part of this is, regardless of what the outcome may look like it's going to be, never give up. Refuse to disengage the will. Once the will is disengaged, you're done. So part of this worldview healing is looking at the potential for others to change and realizing that that's possible, that there's no such thing as an eternal way that something must be. There's only current conditions. That's why, the negative aspect of worldview poisoning is, one of the negative aspects of the poisoned worldview is believing that things are eternally the way they are and must be that way for some reason. See, this is part of somebody being so beaten down that they have accepted that something must eternally be that way. And again, I call it the acceptance of hell. That you're in hell and you just accept that that's where you're at and you belong there for some reason. And so does everyone else. Well, I don't accept that this realm is just simply an eternal prison. I believe we're creating the conditions. I don't believe we're creating the conditions. I know we're creating the conditions. We have free will to create whatever conditions we want, as long as we're operating within the parameters of natural law. What we want to do is break all the parameters of natural law and still think that we can operate somehow freely in this realm. And that's impossible. You operate within natural law and then you can make whatever you want here. You don't operate within the parameters of natural law. You yourself, as a society, collectively, are building a prison for yourself. And that's what we're doing. That doesn't mean that that prison is eternal and it must be that way. You change your mind, then you change your behavior, and then you can create a different manifestation. And that's possible.